Greetings to the people of the United States Virgin Islands. Welcome to Workforce Waves. I'm your host, Sonia Boyce. Other fellow hosts are
Sana Joseph Smith. Happy Thursday.
Good morning, it's Lori.
Lori Christian, right?
Today, yes.
Only today. Well. We've been, for just to let our listening and viewing audience know that when we were not in person, in the studio in person, we feature some of our past summit videos. So we share that with you so you can get an idea of what some of the conversations that have been the discussions we've been hosting with some of our sessions for the annual Governor's Workforce Development Summit. So, since we only have 1 hour, we have a guest who's coming later on. But Sana,
Yes, ma'am.
you
Don't give me a mic,
Okay. Yesterday, I was impressed with the committee, but
Which committee? They may not know.
the 36th Legislators Committee on Education and Workforce Development.
It was a long day.
Yes, you channeled your inner Ruby Rouse.
I love that compliment. I gotta tell you, like that's one of my favorite compliments now. Thank you.
And I must say that I was kind of like, oh my God, what's happening here? Because I know you've worked on this, like you and your team, you guys have worked on this, and you put a lot
Yeah.
days and nights into it. But I'm optimistic because
So am I.
the chairman of the committee said that he wants to see something
And committed to passing it in this legislature.
and
So
he's willing to have working sessions to make sure. So, that made me feel hopeful because he didn't dismiss it. He didn't, like, okay, it's done. So he left the door open.
and we're talking about the Virgin Islands Technical College. I don't know if we actually said it, but the VITC. And establishing a technical college here in the territory that can service not just our community, but the entire Caribbean. So it would be a great funding source for us and for us to be the leaders in workforce development. And, to your point, although we didn't get the vote yesterday that I wanted to have, that we wanted to have, because this is a huge committee of every stakeholder you could possibly think of. Despite some of the comments on the floor yesterday, we have literally spoken to everyone that can be touched or impacted in any way, shape, or form, with this particular project. And so we are hopeful and we're excited. I think dialogue is always a good thing. I'm never afraid of a good dialogue and discussion, right? I think that's how you get different perspectives. I think that's how you build. That's how you see different lenses. And so, when people shy away from diversity, I love diversity in thought, in perspective. I will say my big disappointment was that, or let me rephrase that. I was surprised at the lack of knowledge about what a technical college is.
I was just going to ask for you to put that on the
Yeah,
table.
so a technical college is an educational institution that focuses on getting individuals from a lesser skilled or lower skilled level to a higher skilled and workforce ready position in a shorter amount of time. So that's the big difference between a technical college and, say, your traditional university. Universities tend to be 4 years for your, bachelor's degree, and then you go up from there. They're traditional academic focused courses where you sit down, somebody's lecturing you, and you're supposed to learn, you take a test, and you move on. With technical colleges, the emphasis is on certification, on mastery of skills. So it's not mastery of memorization of knowledge, it's mastery of executing your knowledge. And the goal is for you to be able to master that skill set and be workforce ready. So that means that when you leave, you're not supposed to go into a job saying that, at some point I can work. You literally are working the first day. And throughout your educational process, you're at work. So while you are in school learning the basics, you are simultaneously at a workplace environment and you are practicing it. And this really connects with people who learn with their hands.
Mhm.
It really connects with the students that we mark as the troublemakers. It really connects with the students or the community members that we lose, that fade to black in the shadows, because this allows them to be hands-on, and it allows them not to go unnoticed, forgotten, or overlooked. And so, one message I left yesterday that I wanted to share again, and every time I have this mic, I'm going to say it, is that career and technical education is not alternative ed.
Exactly. Yes.
It is a parallel pathway. And I keep saying it for people in Switzerland. I am not Swiss, but they have such a successful model that they've been using since the 70s. And they go to school, traditional school, for 2 days. These are 15-year-olds and up. And then they go to work for 3 days.
Yeah.
And this is 70% of their youth. 70%.
Wow.
And those students, some still go and pursue traditional college, others pursue higher level technical education. But the point is that their thought and view of academic and how you learn has really changed. So it's not about having a book in front of you and learning how to put words on a page. It's about the relevance. And that's one of the messages that I feel it took a really long time. And I don't know if I brought that home yesterday, but we're going to have to keep sharing that. So when you are, for example, working on being certified as a mechanic, right? That person, instead of writing a page about Shakespeare or some other person, they may write a paper about how to install an engine, why safety concerns and particular procedures are necessary while you install that engine. So they're writing about things that they're actually doing. They're using the same grammar rules and how to, write a paper rules and all those same rules. But instead of using it on something that they have zero interest about,
Right.
they're now writing about something that they're digested. And it's a proof of how you comprehend, absorb.
You're locking it in.
Yes,
Mhm.
by doing that.
So, what are some of the things that you felt hurried about yesterday that you weren't able to articulate to the senators?
So that's one. Thank you for asking that question. Is really trying to articulate that academics and career and technical education are one. You are not swapping out or dumbing down anyone's education. In fact, for some of these industries, you name it. I don't want to start because I don't want to lose anybody out, but nursing, for example, you not being able to add or know the difference between a milliliter, milligram, and a millimeter is someone's life, right? And so math is highly important. And there's this notion that when you pursue a career and technical pathway, you lose the academic rigor, and that's not true. In fact, in many cases, that academic rigor is heightened because you now are fully aware that this hypothetical, situation about how many inches of snow, we don't have snow here. So what do? We dismiss it, right? But if you're talking about, if you don't give this person the right mLs of insulin, you're going to kill them. Like all of a sudden, and as a child, I had to give my mom her insulin. And so I learned from the age of 5, the reason why half a ml or whatever makes a difference. Like, if I can learn that at 5 and understand and comprehend the importance, come on now. We can have our young people and our adults who are taking these courses comprehend it. The other thing that I wish that I had more time to delve into, or we as a team, is that the reality is majority of the students who graduate from VIDE, the Department of Education, when they go to UVI, most of them have to take remedial courses. This is not a condemnation on the Department of Education. What it is a realization that the way that we're teaching our students in high school is not marrying how that knowledge is translated in college.
There is a gap.
Okay, there's a gap. So it doesn't mean these students are unintelligent. It means that the way that they are learning English and math and so forth is not translating to how they're being tested and expected to produce at the university level. There's a gap there. The reason why the technical college is so important and needs to include high school and post-secondary, which is the college level courses, is because if the technical college is driving the curriculum and the certification of what happens in high school in a welding class, that same student, when they go to the secondary, when they go to the post-high school levels, now doesn't have to retake anything. They know the basics and they know they can move up. It eliminates the gap. It eliminates that translation issue that we're having between VIDE and UVI. And I couldn't bring that up on the Senate floor because I did not want that messaging to be politicized. And I didn't want to start the blame game of, oh, the teacher that ain't teaching the students and UVI need to lower their standards or whatever the case may be. I didn't want to have that discussion because
it's the system, not
correct. It's systemic, right? And so it's not something that we can just, snap our fingers and then it change. It's something that requires a lot of, intervention and many different levels. It's not that simple. And so I feel that if we learn and we acknowledge this, right, it came up on the floor that how many people, the percentage of students that have to take remedial courses, it came up on the floor. So how do we close that gap? We create a synergy and a direct line that's uninterrupted. So when you take that nursing, and we're even working with UVI, so they can take that nursing course in high school that's connected to the technical college to allow them to get their associates and LPN. And we've already connected that to the RN 4-year degree program at UVI. We are closing the gaps and allowing that transition to be seamless. I talk a lot, but
No,
I
I'm
should
really
say
passionate about it.
you have a question?
No. Just saying that Haley, she's quite passionate.
I know the impact, right? And not just on, our community from, what it means to be higher skilled, but also as an employer. And when I have employees grown, like strapping adults who can't address an envelope, who can't do basics, then I know we need to find alternative options for them to learn.
With that being said, what do you say to the people who watched the session yesterday, the committee meeting yesterday, and they may be feeling disheartened today that, oh my God, they were hoping that something would be moving quickly, because as we're seeing on a national level, so many changes coming. And with the continuing resolution, it's up until what, January? So we're
for which one?
For
the federal folks.
I don't want to go into that conversation today.
I was thinking local, but I see where you went. Yes.
Yeah. So we know in the big beautiful bill that we've been monitoring, and we're seeing all those cuts that are scheduled to appear, and we know we have to do something because we can't afford to wait until we're like facing that crisis. So what do you say to people who were being told that you have to make changes and you have to do this, you have to do that, but they were banking on something like this technical college and advancing, so that they can at least start looking towards preparing themselves? What do you say to them? Can you give them some kind of assurance?
Yes. And so one thing I'll share is that we're moving forward regardless. And I know that sounds really boastful, even arrogant to some, but we literally cannot afford not to move forward. And so we've been working, I think one of the senators asked me, 1 year transition, it seems a little aggressive. Well, it's not, because we've already started. So 1 year more is what we have, but we've already started, because the bottom line is that our people cannot miss out. And when there is chaos, our role is to figure out where's the opportunity in the chaos. Our opportunity in this chaos is that they are increasing Pell grants for workforce training. They are increasing, apprenticeship funding. Heck, this year alone, we were able to get $300,000 in addition to, and not even counting the board's contribution for apprenticeship. So that's over $300,000 in grants that the federal government made available just for apprentices. And so with the technical college, it makes it very easy to set up apprenticeship programs in line with these skilled trades so that we can get those additional dollars. Additionally, in order for you to continue getting some of your higher ed funding, you now have to prove that your students have graduated and have a job in that field.
Yes.
And even they want to figure out how much income they're making.
Mhm.
And so a technical college is a perfect fit for that, because most of these people, 90-something% of the students who graduate, when they at graduation are placed already in a job in their field, making more than when they started that program. 90-something%.
Yeah, the federal guidelines have, yes, there'll be tons of money rolling in for apprenticeship programs, but the guidelines, the policies, the procedures, they are going to become so stringent. It's like we know with the findings that
Yeah.
we have to be so careful how we administer those programs. So, and the fact that you were able to receive funding, that says a lot.
Yeah, one of
Because-
them was the first time the Virgin Islands had ever applied for the funding and received it, period. And so I think that technical college, to your point, apprenticeship is becoming so complicated for our employers. If we use a system where a lot of them are based out of technical college, that technical information and that documentation can stay at the college, and we can work as partners with the employers, which frees up the employers to do what they do best,
So how are we preparing employers?
And I think that's part of the whole orientation of the technical college. The employers are not an accessory at a technical college. They are a core partner.
Mhm.
And that is one of the things that is really different from, your traditional setup of UVI and so forth. And I'm not saying, because yesterday I feel like there was a little, oh, UVI has this too. They do. But let's let UVI do what UVI does best. And that's a 4-year higher ed, academia-based institution. They do it well. Let them continue to do it well. We keep putting unnecessary and extra responsibilities on that institution, and we are not giving them the extra funding to do it. And so let them do what they do well, and the same with the Department of Education. Let the Department of Education do what they do well. And into your question, both of those institutions do partner with employers, right? But the employers are support to them. When it comes to a technical college, the employers are direct partners. They create the curriculum. They are on the board. Like, they are integral parts of the technical college. It's not, an additional stakeholder. They are the stakeholder. They are the key partner. And that's a really different way of doing education. Again, I'm referring back to the Swiss, but their curriculum, all of their curriculum is created by industry. All.
So how do you see incorporating the Swiss method into the technical college? Because you went, you told us you were able to tour, you were able to
Yes.
meet with it. You may even want to share some of the things you learned.
Definitely. So, let me talk about their process. And I think this is important because we underestimate our children. The Swiss start their process at 13 and 14, the 13 and 14-year-olds, okay? Just think about that for a minute. 13 and 14-year-olds, they have to go out on their own and find a business or industry that they like, that they're interested in. They have to approach that business and ask them to be an intern, apprentice at their business. They have to interview and be accepted to that. You hear what I said? 13 and 14. And then they start at 15. They juggle going to traditional school 2 days a week, going to work, like regular work, 3 days a week. Okay? They also have their scholastic sports. They also have their extracurricular activities and so forth. This is a 15-year-old. If they need to call out from work because they have something to do, they have to put in the request, just like an adult.
So preparing them for.
So in Switzerland, we have 15-year-olds. I was like, man, I must be Swiss at heart because, Auntie said, once you go walk, you go walk. I mean, once you go walk, you go walk.
Try 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that is how they teach their children. And so therefore, when their children are now finished with their coursework, their apprenticeship program, whether it's 3 years, 4 years, depending on what field they go into, then they get to pivot and decide, do I want to go to a traditional college or do I want to further my education and go on and get higher technical certification or degrees there? And here's the thing, they change their mind. No problem. If you decide that, you know what, I've tried this for a year and I don't like it, they get to pivot.
Okay.
It's not forever,
So
ever.
locked into it.
Why can't we what's the difference with our students? They're fully capable. We're the ones that baby them and don't let them step up to their potential. Let them do it. So I think that that's one of the easy steps we can do. And even with the technical college, we have it in there. We have on-the-job training. We have different mechanisms already that if we just really reshape that, and instead of having these students file papers and get your coffee and your bush tea, we had a student giving a presentation on, the seal for the cement that we use, like when you put things together and you need to seal it so it's waterproof.
Yeah.
When you're building, they use that. So she gave a presentation of how she makes it and make sure the integrity is there. We have a phone call.
Yes, we do. Before we go to the phone call, let me introduce our guest.
Good morning. Sorry for my lateness.
On time.
On time.
Right on time, 10:30, right?
Yeah.
And I saw you this morning too.
Champagne.
I actually had a client call me this morning, so.
But who are you?
My name is Shamari Moorhead. Yeah, I forget that we're on radio. I'm so used to being on, Facebook and stuff. But Shamari Moorhead, entrepreneur, involved with several nonprofits, president of our town, Frederickston, secretary of the St. Croix Foundation, board member of St. Croix Landmarks, Alpha Phi Fraternity, St. Joseph High School, and what else? Something else I'm involved in. I don't know.
Well,
They keep me busy.
there may be another one. We never know. Greetings, caller. Welcome to Workforce Ways.
Oh, yes. Good morning. I just tuned in and hearing this program for the first time. I need to ask a question, if you don't mind. Is it a new program on the air?
Yes, we started in what, last month?
September. I
Yeah,
know
So
this
then you're a
voice.
brand new baby.
Yes, Workforce Waves, yes.
Okay, what is it about, basically?
Well, we thought with all the different changes happening mainland world with regarding workforce development, we wanted to make sure we keep our community abreast of what's going on, and there's so many opportunities here in the territory that our residents don't know what's available. So we every Thursday.
Who's we?
The Virgin Islands Workforce Development Board, the Office of the Governor, and the American Job Center, located at the Virgin Islands Department of Labor. So we come together and we discuss things pertaining to workforce development, economic development, just things in terms of moving our territory forward and preparing our community, especially our youth.
So it's geared basically towards workforce development.
Yes, entrepreneurship, just opportunities that are there in the territory. So we don't have to export our brains every year. We export how many hundreds of students who graduate across the territory, and we export that. So we want to let them know there are so many opportunities here available to them. So yes.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned the word entrepreneurship. I get my tongue outside up. But because some people have the feeling that the government is the only place to work. And to me, as a person that had worked in the government back in the day for almost 30 years, while doing that, I also had a position in a private business, in a family business for all the years that I worked. The point being that, we probably need to to have more people starting businesses. You know,
I mean,
that's just my thinking. Then lastly, I heard the name called Sonia Boyd. Is she one of the people there? And that
yes, you're speaking to Sonia.
oh, that is Sonia Boyd. Okay. I don't know if you remember me, Alnez. We met somewhere when I was in the government, either at the university or at the housing, local housing, federal. Where else did I work again?
The
In
legislature.
huh?
Did you work at the legislature?
That's right. I worked at the
Yes, I
legislature,
remember you
both
from the
in
legislature.
in the
Post audit.
business office first, and then I was like executive director in the
Oh.
90s.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Oh, so that's where we met. Oh,
Yes.
okay. I keep saying Sonia Boyd. That name sounds familiar. Okay, I'll hang up and continue to listen. Thank you much.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Nibs, for calling. We appreciate it.
Bye. Bye. And then I was like executive director in the 90s.
Okay.
There you go. I mean, for a minute, I didn't know if we need to swipe left or swipe right, you know.
Well, I mean,
But at
that-
least we have a caller listening. There we
Yeah,
go.
so, you know, Virgin Islanders, please feel free to call in. We're what's the number?
773-0390, AM 970.
And is that 04902?
Yes, 773-0490.
All righty. So, Mr. Moorhead,
How are you?
doing well. You're no stranger to the board because every year you assist us with our summit as
Yes.
a moderator or a panelist.
Yep.
So tell us about Our Town Frederiksted, and because that's all part of economic development and the work you're doing. So
Our Town Frederiksted, nonprofit dedicated to the revitalization of Frederiksted Town. We're looking to bring people back into town to live, work, and play. So finding opportunities to get Virgin Islanders, get people, hanging out. If you've been in town the last week with the military ship Wajima, you could see how busy it felt like Christmas time because midnight I'm driving through town and people are walking in the waterfront, hanging out at stores, bars that stayed open to enjoy the company that was out there. So I started by bringing my own business to Frederiksted Town. I got a building on Strand Street.
beautiful building, by
Yeah,
the way. Yeah.
Put my staff up there, did some renovations to it, brought a technology company in there. We have an apartment that we rent in the back, and we're hoping to get a restaurant space downstairs. So it's a pretty, built out restaurant. So just getting a tenant in there. But that's part of what we're doing is trying to bring people to say, hey, we believe in Frederiksted Town. So part of the work is looking to renovate a lot of buildings. I spent a day yesterday with their HFA. We applied for some funding to renovate 7 buildings in town. So hopefully we'll get the funding we need for that within the next couple of weeks to start that project. But you're going to start to see real traction. There are some private property owners who are starting to work. There's a building on the corner of Hill and King Street that's being renovated, and the one across from it, they're actually started doing work on that as well. There's some of the Envision program work that's being done on Queen Street and the Queen Cross Street as well. So a lot of stuff is happening in town, and the more that we continue to bring activities and bring people back into town, the more you can see happening with Frederiksted.
So what made you take on the leadership of Our Town Frederiksted, and what's your vision?
I got asked. I went to a meeting and they said it's election time, and I believe in Frederiksted. I used to hang out in town. My mom grew up started off with Marley on Queen Street, then moved to Marley
I
Housing,
remember your mom, yes.
and then to Harrigan Court. And interestingly enough, where she lived on Queen Street is due east of where my office is. So if I go stand on the roof of my building, I look straight across, is the house that she grew up in.
Oh, wow.
And so I always loved hanging out in Frederiksted. Coming to Frederiksted was a treat for us. Like going past Villa Lorraine, when you had Bata Shoe Store and Baker's and the bowling alley and Pueblo, like that was as
It
far
was a trip.
east.
Yeah, Marcus
Yeah.
was, yes.
So unless I was going to go visit, my grandmother in Sion Farm, my father, I didn't go past Lorraine. Like everything was
Wow.
west. The sporting goods store to get stuff for my bike. What's the lady with the school uniforms on King Street?
Mm-hmm. Cinderella.
Cinderella.
Mhm.
You know, you had everything. I used to go to the barber shop by Peter Christian. There was a Spanish guy on the corner by the post office to get my hair cut. So church on at St. Paul's, like everything was Frederickstead. And so, you know, I want to see Frederickstead come back to what it used to be. Yes, we've always had an issue with abandoned buildings and, you know, derelict buildings, but a lot of things have, you know, kind of, it's gotten worse. And so our goal is to, you know, stop it from getting worse and make it better. One of the biggest things that we started with is our music concert, Rhythm of the Sunset. So every third Friday, we have 2 to 3 different bands that we bring out on the waterfront. A free concert. We will come out and hang out from 6 to 9 and just have a good time and show folks that, you know, you can enjoy town. And it's great for the businesses because now that people are there, they stay open later. You know, people may not want what we have on the waterfront for food or drink, so they'll go to Flyers, they'll go to Napoleon, to Siboney. So it's a great, you know, activity for the businesses in town. So that's my passion is to see, you know, a better Frederickstead. It doesn't take away from any other part of the island. I think you can do 2 things at once. So, you know, ideally, I would love to see some sort of like a late night show between Christiansted and Frederickstead where you kind of have dinner in one town and then, you know, shuttle across to the other town for dessert and, you know, whatever.
That's an interesting concept.
And then come back and, you know, get your car and go home. So, you know, to show folks that you can have like Twin City really means enjoying both sides of the island.
I feel an activity bubbling there. A Twin City night.
Bar crawl, night crawl,
Yeah.
you know.
They have bar
Tale of Two
crawls,
Cities.
right?
Hey.
So,
Yeah,
you
Tale
know.
of Two Cities crawl.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody's listening and they're like, sorry, the wheels are starting to turn.
I'm on the fundraising committee for our town, Frederickstead, so I'll make sure.
Yeah, so
Wow,
there's so
That we
much
bring it.
work to do.
Make it happen.
I mean, if you look at
I'll
our
attend if you make it happen.
if you look at our to-do list, we have like 15 open projects, and so there's just a lot of work to do. So we're always looking for volunteers to help and get involved in, you know, the things that we're doing. But we're actually hiring for a grant manager and an office administrator to help take on some of the day-to-day activities of what we're doing, so that I can, you know, get back into running my business, and we can continue, you know, doing the work at the same time. So
what are some of the revitalization projects?
So one is we have a housing ecosystem grant. So we're giving out up to $15,000 to about 7 property owners to fix up their homes. So if you have, you know, a place you need to rent out, but you need new doors or windows, you need to fix up your kitchen or whatever, you get up to, you know, up to $15,000 to do that.
Where are the boundaries for that? How far out of town are you going?
Just the town itself. So from Fisher Street to Lagoon Street, from Strand Street to East Street. So you have to be within the town limits. The next is the CBG grant to do the other buildings that we're going to actually renovate. So, you know, fixing up buildings, making sure that they're commercial space downstairs for those that are 2-story and a residential space upstairs. We have a Mercy Corp grant that we got to buy equipment. So we do our street cleanup. So every other month, we'll pick a different street. We'll get volunteers out. We'll come, you know, cut the grass, you know, pick up trash, you know, clean up the town, make it look, you know, nice.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Just the opportunities to support in that pickup. You know, we're often talking about, and I know we're going to talk about Rise VI another time, but folks are always trying to figure out what can I do, and I think that's a really easy way.
Yeah.
I've been out there with my daughter, and she went from 12, 13, and we're doing it. I know other people go out there with their little ones. It's a really great way to not only contribute, but to show our children, your niece, whoever your little picnic that you can borrow, get out there and pick up some trash. It costs you just a couple hours.
Yeah.
It's not.
You know, most people are there from 2 to 3 hours. The more people we have, the faster we get through it. And it's literally just, you know, we had what should we did? The King Cross we did last month, and some of the people on the street were just really happy because it was one house in particular where the owners have abandoned the building, and so the sidewalk was completely covered. And so, you know, with the equipment we got from Mercy Corp, we were able to trim the trees down and cut back so now you can actually walk the sidewalk. So I actually wanted to stand on the top of the street and look down and say, okay, can I walk this entire sidewalk? And so that was one of the things that we did on Saturday.
Well, this is directly linked to public safety as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I said what I had to say.
They can't hear you. They can't hear you
Oh,
though.
okay, wow, really? Well, no, I'm just saying this is definitely linked to public safety,
Yes.
because if you're not able to be on the sidewalk and you're walking out amidst traffic, we're looking at potential accident. And then also accessibility. If you're in a wheelchair, you're not able to you know, right, be safe.
And that's actually what she said. She was like, you know, she has someone with a wheelchair and she can't go down because of all the trees and stuff that was blocking the sidewalk. So, you know, if you have people who want to come out, you know, just visit our website or call the office and we'll call you back. But we, you know, we always love the volunteers. And yes, Public Works has their role and they do come out and help as well. We get support from Waste Management. They give us a bin. And we usually fill up an entire, you know, 20, 30-yard bin on a Saturday morning with everything from trees to trash to tires. We get them all up. So,
And what's your contact information? You mentioned the website, phone number.
the email is admin@ourtownfredericksted.org. And what's the phone number?
Well, we'll figure out the phone
We'll figure
number
out the phone
before
number.
before the end of the show.
But, you know, you can always go to our Facebook page, Our Town Fredericksted as well, to get more information. So.
Do you have office hours?
Not yet. So once we get the staffing in there, we'll have office hours. We'll have regular office hours supposed to come by. We're right behind of St. Paul's Church, so the yellow building on the corner of Hospital Street and King Cross Street. And the phone number is 772-3550. So it's stored in my phone, so I never remember.
So you're doing, you're revitalizing Fredericksted. You're hiring staff, so that's job creation.
Yes.
So what is your, how do you see the fastest way to grow Fredericksted? Do you see it as through agriculture, through construction, through tourism, small business, cultural arts? Or what do you see? What based on what you and your team when y'all sit down to talk about growing Fredericksted?
I think it's a combination of, you know, tourism and the arts. So one of the things that I would love to see, and I was trying to get the legislature to appropriate some money for this, is we would love to see a museum like about Virgin Islands history. So, you know, when you talk about people like the Hamilton Jackson and Ruby Rouse, like we don't have a facility you can go into and say, hey, let me spend 2-3 hours learning about the Virgin Islanders and the history of the Virgin Islands, and the way, you know, our governors and our legislature, the people who've made an impact. You know, we have information about, you know, the emancipation, you know, at the fort, and, you know, something about the labor revolt, but really about what's happened in the last 100 years. We don't have a facility for that. And so a museum that will, you know, get kids in Virgin Islands who live in the island to actually come out and use this facility, as well as visitors. You know, so it's not just for visitors, it's for us as well. And then the second is an aquarium, you know, something about, you know, we're surrounded by water. Where can we go learn about our marine life? The difference between, you know, an oil wife and a parrotfish and, you know, a grouper, a hind, stuff like, what are the things that, you know, I actually didn't realize we had 4 different kind of sea turtles that come out to our shores until I saw a post from, I think it was the Park Service or one of the organizations that posted it. It was like, hey, we got 6,000 of one turtle and, you know, 100 of some of another. You know, we're really talking about marine life and what's under the sea, you know, getting folks to come out and learn about that. So putting those 2 facilities in town, we have a lot of buildings that we can put them into. One, get, you know, more of us to come into town to see these things. We have a great art museum at the Caribbean Museum Center. Now we'll have a history museum and an aquarium. So that's 2 big things that I think would definitely, if you're on a cruise ship and you go to both of those facilities, or actually just the 3 of them, that's the entire 8-hour trip. Like you don't even have time to go to the beach or anything else. So that's a lot to keep people busy. And then restaurants, you know, we're always talking about food and being a foodie destination. We don't really have a lot of places for local food at night. Like you want kalaloo, you want sauce, you want
Like some that you inch food.
yes. We don't have, you know, aside from really 2+2, there's no place to get local food at night. So doing something like that and getting folks to say, hey, you know, I can come into town. the challenge we have is that, you know, people in Christiansted feel like it's a long drive. And so I would love to see, like,
And it's hard to get transportation.
it is, you know, so public transportation is the next big thing, you know, reliable.
Private transportation. Hello.
That too.
You want to go there?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But at least making the two major roadways, Central Line Road or Queen Mary Highway, and then the Melbourne Evans Highway, if those two roads are well lit or
Yes.
well paved consistently,
I
right?
think that would make a big difference.
It would make a big
Crossing
difference to go back and forth
Yeah.
between the towns, because now, you know, you don't feel. I have people tell me, like, hey, it's too dark for me to drive at night. But if you said, hey, as part of our budget, our repair cycle, that every 2 or 3 years we're gonna redo these roads so that people feel comfortable traversing between the towns, it's gonna be a big difference. Christians has the luxury of kind of being in between, because you have a lot of people who still live east and that pass
Mhm.
Christiansted town. We don't have that big of a community past Fredericksburg town. So once you get past, you know, Mahogany Road, yes, LaGrange is full, but there's not a lot of homes, you know,
Mm-mm.
in the rainforest, for example.
Mhm.
And even those who live in the rainforest, they can go through Grove to get to the rainforest. They don't have to come through Fredericksburg town. So making those roadways safe would make a big difference. And then the last piece is getting more private businesses. So EDA has a program where, you know, they offer tax incentives for businesses to relocate to town. For us, it was they wanted more technology and restaurant businesses in town. So that's one of the, you know, the additional benefit of me moving, you know, Crucian Point and listening to Fredericksburg is that, you know, we're helping them fulfill the goal of adding more technology businesses in town, because now it means that my employees can go out and shop for food during lunchtime, or people can stay after work if there's an after work event. The more people we bring into town, you know, the more you have. When we took the legislature out, that was a big loss for
Yeah.
Fredericksburg town.
Mm.
The good part is you have the public safety and DPNR, so they still come into town. I still have employees all the time. They come and buy lunch and hang out and stuff. But the more we can get into town, you know, maybe a government one-stop center where you can go and, you know, pay your sign up for, you know, different services from the government without having to come to Christiansted or Sunny Isles to do that, would make a big difference as well. So small businesses, you know, the arts and restaurants would definitely help, you know.
I think we spoke about this at one of the town halls, and I actually had this conversation with, oh shoot, they're gonna kill me. The new nonprofit out of RT, the Community Investment Fund. I think it's CIF.
Yeah.
And you know, we spoke about the fact that in order for small businesses to survive, you can't do it one by one.
Yep.
That restaurant can't come in with nobody there to serve, right? And so we have to figure out how to bring in the businesses, you know, stacked or close to, you know, starting dates, so that we have maybe 10 businesses that are all opening around the same time, so that their customers can support each other. And so I'm going to be working with them because they're able to provide micro lending, so that, because I don't want to mash anybody's toes, but getting, you know, loans, business loans, commercial loans in the territory is very difficult for most small businesses, much less a mature business. And so I think with the Community Investment Fund, that organization will really help. So I think that's one big plus that I'm hoping that OTF will be able to partner with that to really make this happen, because the one thing is not, you can't survive as a business owner. You're and a restaurant owner. Please,
you can.
You can.
I think, you know, you touched on a very important part: funding. You know, access to capital is a huge, huge issue. And the struggle I have, and this is no hit to the government, is that I don't think government understands the cost of the private sector. So when you say, "Hey, I have $20,000 available," you know, that really isn't going to take you far in today's cost. A $20,000 loan, if you want to, even if you want to start a landscaping business, right? A truck is going to cost you $30,000. A good riding mower is going to cost you 10. That's 40 out the door. By the time you pay for your weed whackers and your shears, and you put some money aside for marketing,
and you need a helper.
And you need a helper, right? So you have to have some upfront capital for that initial, you know, payment to your employees. You're looking at easily close to $100,000 just to start a landscaping business, right? If you want a reliable one, you don't want somebody who buy a brought-down truck and then they come cut your grass today, but then next month they're trying to get the truck fixed. So getting them to say, hey, we could put up more money, and we can, give it to you in stages so that they feel comfortable. But we have to get over this, like, oh yeah, $5,000 is a lot of money. Like I have agencies that say, oh, we'll give you 5,000 for a website. And we want the website to be multilingual. We want to support bulk ordering, and we wanted to support SEO. For 5,000, I'm like,
Yeah.
Talk about businesses, because you're a business owner. You said we know Crucian Point, that you represent that with the summit. So, and you just talked about Messenger.
so yes, Crucian Point, we design custom software. So we don't really advertise. We're actually about to change that, start advertising more about what we do. But you'll find a lot of our work in things like the Board of Education's financial application. We built that. The teacher certification application. If you go to clinical laboratory and get your lab results, and you go to the portal online, that's something that we did a couple of years ago. We actually released a new version last week. So a better user interface, mobile friendly. You can see a history of your lab results. What else do we do? Messenger is our payroll platform. So we built a payroll system for the Virgin Islands because
Tell us about that. That's interesting.
one of the things we found is we're a very paper heavy society.
Mhm.
If you want to submit your forms to labor or IRB, you got to print them out. Last week I went to go pay a bill at IRB and I didn't have the form. They were like, go home and print it out and come back to us. They didn't even have copies of it in stock. And I'm like, well, why can't I just hit a button and submit this to you? And so I got tired because none of the subsequent state sites work there, And I was like, it's got to be a better way. So a couple of years ago, I set out to build one. And I started with an Excel spreadsheet and did that for a couple of years until people started saying, hey, I need a copy of my check stub. I need proof of employment. My accountant made a mistake one day transposing two numbers. I was like, okay, let's build something. And so we set out and we spent a year building it, 2 years using it internally, and we started letting people use it. So now you can go online and do all of your calculations, you just put in your numbers. And one of the things that's great about, why we did this is that IRS, IRB, and labor ask for the same information, just in different calculations. So it's all payroll data. So having to do a separate report for workers' comp, a separate report for the government insurance fund, a separate report for your 941 for the IRB, a separate report for 940 for the IRS, it's just hitting a button that says print because you already have the data there. And that was a struggle that we had, was like, everybody wants to report. I'm always late filing because I don't have time to go back and recalculate. And that's the biggest thing people have told us, is that now I don't have to spend all this time trying to, okay, well, how much I owe IRB, how much I owe IRS, how much I owe labor, how much I owe workers' comp. It's just a matter of hitting print because you already have the data. So that's the kind of work that we do. We look for ways to build solutions to help businesses. The VI Bar, the continuing legal education platform, that was something that we did as well. Before you had to go online and just fill out a generic form, and the staff had no way to see, well, which lawyers were actually in compliance, which ones were not. So now you have a dashboard that's color coded. Green means you've submitted all your credits for the 2-year period. Yellow means you started, but you didn't finish. Red means that you haven't even started. So now lawyers can see when they're behind, what they got to fill out without having to basically fill out a spreadsheet and, have someone else do the math to figure out, well, did I do all of my technology credits or my, VI law credits?
So you simplified the process. Are you sharing that with other businesses?
Yeah, I'm trying to get more agencies to modernize, but a lot of them don't want to. They're comfortable with the way things are. And the biggest need that I have is I want government to take money online. And I'm trying to get more agencies to say, hey, we'll put our stuff online so people can pay, because guess what it means? If people are paying their bills online, it means that the government has cash faster. And as a vendor, I get paid faster. But the government has no cash because the cashier is only working from 8 to 3. It means that they're not collecting as fast.
And most business owners like myself are up working at 11 o'clock at night, reconciling and paying bills and all that kind of good stuff. I would also, before you get off of Messenger, am I saying that right?
Yeah. It's like the mint candy.
Got it.
Making payroll.
I like that.
Like it. A really big push, and I go and sit down with you. I keep saying I am, but is to really expand our access for workforce opportunities for those that want to live here and work elsewhere. And there's a barrier for a lot of corporations. They're like, I don't want to deal with the VI stuff for one employee. And so I really feel like this has the potential to partner with, HR.
That's actually what
Revolutionary.
Yeah.
I've gotten at least 5 calls from stateside firms in the last month and a half saying, hey, can you submit the paperwork for the VI government for us? And they have people in the Virgin Islands that they want to hire, but they don't want to have to mail in forms to IRB and to labor. And so I've gone to these agencies and said, hey, let us submit this to you electronically. And they're like, oh, no, not right now. I'm like, hey, we can have people hired, getting money from outside, coming in, paying people who live here, who are going to shop here.
And you said the response was what?
No, not right now.
But even if you look at it, we were speaking about this before you came in here, the hearing yesterday, I testified for the Virgin Islands Technical College. We are people who are slow to accept change.
Yeah.
And before we say, hey, that might be a good idea, our initial response is no. Change for us is really hard to embrace. And as a business owner, change is all I know.
Yeah.
If I don't pivot, look, I preach it to the choir, right? If I don't pivot, every time I need to pivot, every time there's chaos and I'm looking at opportunity, then I won't survive. And so it's really strange from a business owner's perspective to see some of our leaders who are so resistant to exploring change. It doesn't mean you gotta do it right now.
Yeah.
But let's explore it, right? So before you say no, let's just explore it and see what happens. But it's really something as a community we need to start practicing doing things differently, when it comes to change. Doesn't mean all change is good.
Yeah.
But here at Fuss now, like
I mean, I've even pitched ideas to agencies who are like, look, I'll build a platform for you for free so you can collect money online. Because now I don't have to come in person. I don't have to worry about writing checks. And then just like you pay Visa, MasterCard a transaction fee, we'll take a small, couple percent to make the money back. So there's no upfront cash from the government of the Virgin Islands. Like you don't have to pay anything up front. You got to worry about, asking for money from OMB. Like this is free to you. But now you're collecting money anytime, any day. And you can report on it. You can see summaries. You can do all that stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. But nah, not right now.
No,
we're going to make it happen.
And I come from an industry, like Sana said, I worked for IBM for 7 years. Everybody from American Express, Moody's Investor Services, actually people who used to rate the VI bonds, I used to work for that agency in New York as well. They're one of my clients. Aetna Insurance, United Airlines, Southwest Airlines, designing solutions, the Masters Golf, designing solutions for all of these companies to say, hey, how can I help you make your business better and faster? And so we're trying to do the same thing. That's actually the reason why I came home, because I said businesses here can't afford an IBM. They can't afford an Accenture. I think my smallest project with IBM was like $50,000 for a nonprofit in New York. Every other project was $1 million, $500,000. So I'm saying the businesses here, you need this stuff. Let me get it to you for, $5, $10, $20, $50,000 versus you going on and paying $500,000. Because agencies here will pay that, right? They'll tell me, oh, $20,000 is too high, but then they'll pay, somebody,
off island.
$200,000. So that's a struggle, but it doesn't deter me. I continue to pivot, just like Sana said. I started out building websites. That's a okay business, but it's not really profitable. To make it where I could support a staff and have an office space and pay for computers and everything, I'd have to charge, $15,000 to $20,000 a website. Doesn't happen. Most people here can afford $1,500 to $5,000. So I'd have to be doing those every single week to make it work, to pay people a decent salary. Because I don't want to pay somebody minimum wage.
Correct.
And I don't want to pay people on contract, because now when somebody calls and says, hey, this is broken, I need to have somebody available right now to fix it. If I got somebody on contract, I got to wait till they're available to come and fix it. So it's a balance of trying to pay people a fair wage to live in the Virgin Islands and do the work. And so we pivoted to doing the custom software solutions, to building the Cinja, to doing the MyVI app. We're actually doing another project right now that's going to be more of a global platform. which is the harder hard part because investors I've talked to like, hey, the Virgin Islands is a small market, so we're not gonna really give you any money. But if you can come to us with an idea that you can sell to anybody in the world, now we're talking business. And so the hard part that they've seen with the Caribbean is that there's nothing built in the Caribbean that serves a global market. Like we don't have any Facebooks or Instagrams that came out of the Caribbean.
You hear that, Virgin Islanders?
So if we can start to show investors from outside that, hey, we can build solutions here that can work in, Miami, that can work in, Thailand or wherever, they're going to start pumping money into what we do. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at is like, what can we build to serve a global audience? Well, Asinja is a start, but there's a lot of competition. The niche for us was that there's nothing that serves territory.
They all skip the territories.
They don't serve the territory.
I'm glad you didn't let the responses deter you, that you just kept on going. So,
I've been on my phone for 14 years.
Laura's pointing to the time, our producer is pointing to the time. But I must say that I'm so glad we had this conversation. And sound like you're on the OTF board. So that's
No,
good.
I'm not on the board.
Oh.
I'm just a committee member.
Oh, you're a committee member, so that's good. You have somebody very innovative and strategic in her thinking. It's good to hear some of the things, the vision that you have. I know Al Franklin, who used to be the former president. He would have been very proud of you, of the work you and your team are doing, because he tried for many years to get a lot of the things that you're doing off the ground. So you know that he would have been very proud of you to know that you've gotten it this far. And that software that you have, with digitization that's happening right now, because we're looking at 2025 and we're seeing so many things and the announcements, the way the government is going, we know that's coming. We can't, with the paper pushing, it's not going to happen anymore because everything is becoming automated and there is that trail that with AI, so that it has to happen. So I'm glad you haven't given up and you're making sure you're speaking to the right people, that they can listen and take advantage of this opportunity that you're offering. So any closing words before we?
No, just, let's continue to keep an open mind, not say no to every opportunity. There's a lot that we can do, that we can just, if we keep pushing forward. So get involved. The Virgin Islands home is a great place to live and work and play.
Just wanted to share two things. One, we spoke about those microloans that are available from the Community Impact Fund, which is out of the RT Park. I wanted to give the website. They have microloans available for seasonal businesses. So if you are a business where you need extra funding for the Christmas time, the holidays, inventory, if you are a festival booth owner, and it's micro loans, but it's interest free. Let me repeat that. Interest free for the first 3 months, and then 6% interest after that, which is crazy. Like that's like mortgage rates for unsecured rates. So www.cif as in Frank, V as in Victor, I.org, www.cifvi.org. So this is not going to start your business, but it could definitely cover your inventory for, your season as you go into that. And then my last thing I want to leave with is a quote. When faced with a challenge, find a way, not a way out. Yep. That's the messaging that I got from today's conversation from start to finish. Find a way.
Lori?
Enough said.
Drop mic.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Shabari, good luck and best wishes to you in all your endeavors.
Thank you.
Hey, let me get your schedule up because I keep saying this. Pull out your calendar. Pull out your calendar.